Take it easy and solve the school lunch problem with SPAM. S-P-A-M.
こんにちは、タイガークローラジオ。You are listening now. Back J.
You are listening to Tiger Claw Radio. Number one in vintage computer and video game entertainment. And now your host, Critical Failure.
Hey everybody, you are listening to Tiger Claw Radio. I'm your host, Critical Failure. We are in a time crunch due to the Christmas season. This is already being put together on Saturday night, a day later than normal, so my apologies to the patrons. We're going to forego a lot of the formatting and a lot of the extra stuff just to make sure we can get something out and all hang out together just like we do every Monday. All right, so let's jump right into the Mancast. You guys are listening to Tiger Claw Radio, the Christmas series. What's going on? Monday morning. Hang on. I stopped bringing my travel mug to work. That's the first time in a while I've done that. Alright, so now we need to get something to defrost the windshield. I think we're good. I think we can depart. Okay. Monday morning. It is cold. Alright, it snowed Friday night. Friday night we get not a lot, maybe like 1.5 inches. Just a little bit, enough to get the kids excited. But it was this perfectly timed snow that came on Friday night and was already half melted by Saturday morning, or Saturday afternoon. So we had Saturday morning with snow, and that's pretty much it. Perfectly timed so that the kids didn't get to stay home from school. I didn't get to telework. But we got a little snow. It's cool. And now here we are Monday morning, and it's freezing cold. It surely is. Over the weekend, I played a couple games that I have unboxed. So now I'm sure this is all on my YouTube channel at this point. But the arcade classics, the Activision classics for the Atari 2600. That was a PS1 collection. So you had a PS1 disc that had 30 Activision games, 30 Atari games on PS1. Pretty cool. You know, I really dig those collections of old games. This one was especially affordable. So I dug in. It's pretty cool. Now there's a counterpart for the Game Boy Advance, but the last time I looked at that, it was more expensive, which is a shame because it seems like Game Boy Advance, that would be the perfect mix of Game Boy Advance portability and Atari's let's turn it on for 30 seconds, play, and be done. I think that would strike a perfect balance and be a really good game. But that's okay. We went with the PS1 version because I got it on the cheap. It was fun. I played Dragster probably more than I thought I would, just because I wanted to see. Dragster on the Atari 2600 was one of those games that's set up for two people. You really, it's like combat. You really can't play it to its fullest by yourself. You know, the whole concept is it's a race. You know, a timed race using a manual transmission vehicle. And I gotta say, I wouldn't say I dug it, but I had fun with it. I had fun with it while I was playing it. But here's my problem with the Activision collection for the PS1. Now, I'm sure I'll say all this in another YouTube video, but this is fresh in my head, so I'm gonna fill you in right now. If you get those games on the actual Atari, and I've got several of them on the actual Atari, you've got more gaming options on the Atari. See, here's the way Atari worked. The Atari, you usually had in the instruction manual, you had a grid of like maybe 8 options. And in those 8 options, each row on the grid would have some turned on and some turned off. So in the game, you'd have like 50 different game modes that would be different collections of some options on, some options off. So it's like, all right, if you wanted this option on, but this option on, but this option off, go to game 31. All right, click, 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 click. So it's common when you see a collection of Atari games to simplify that whole process with some kind of a menu, which in theory is a great idea. But what I noticed was with this particular collection, a lot of those game modes were missing. Skiing, in particular, skiing on the Atari 2600, the Activision skiing game, is a very, very common game. And it's got a lot of game modes. And among those game modes, more importantly, it's like a speed control. Because if you just pop in Activision skiing on the Atari 2600 and you start playing it without changing the game mode, you're going to move slow as molasses. The stock game is really not very good. But you crank up that speed a little bit, then you really, you got a game. And, there's a couple of controls, but not just, as soon as I figured out that there were game modes missing, as obscure as they would be, it lost a little bit of the magic. But I did have fun with it while I was playing it. It had Enduro on it. Enduro is a game that I love for the Atari 2600. And that's a game that when I play it, I tend to play stock. So it's fine. I just roll right in, and then there you go. So Enduro is a winner on the Atari, and then that's on that collection. Pitfall is on the collection, which I also tend to play stock. I didn't mess with that though. I think for me, that evening belonged to Dragster, and there's another Activision game for the Atari. I want to say it's either Mega Mania or Megalomania. I think it's Mega Mania. It's like a Space Invaders type clone, but Activision. It starts with an M. Mega something. Well, I've had this game for the Atari for many years, since back when I first got my Atari. But it's never worked. Not once. I've kept it all these years because through experimentation, I've discovered that I think my Atari, in particular, either the junior model or just the one that I have, has a problem with Activision games. Sometimes I have to work to get Activision games going. And I thought, hey, maybe the game is just fine, just doesn't really work on my system. So I've kept it all these years. So the fact that appeared on the collection and I was finally able to play it was pretty sweet. So that's the Atari Activision collection for the PlayStation 1. Fun little game. I find when I have these fun little games that just require tiny bits of attention, they tend to get more gameplay than they actually deserve, just given my situation with video games. So it works for me. Throw that on the stack. Now with it, I also purchased a copy of... Hang on a second, driving now. There we go. I also purchased a copy of Virtua Fighter 4. And I sat down and played Virtua Fighter 4 arcade mode last night. I like the 3D fighting vibe. It seems like it's all but fallen out of fashion. I don't know. I haven't played the new Tekken game. Maybe I'm wrong about that. But anyway, Virtua Fighter 4. Played that a little bit. It was charming, but it also felt oversimplified. You got to punch, you got to kick, and you got to block, and that's all your buttons. So I don't know if it's just oversimplified, or perhaps there's more complicated things I can do with, button combinations and stuff. I don't know. I played the arcade mode. I got to the 7th stage, and I couldn't beat that guy. But this was like a game that I just bought, popped in, and played for the very first time. I had fun with it. I'm going to play it again. But that got put aside. Ultimately, the way the evening went down was I played this Atari game for the PlayStation. Then I played arcade mode in Virtua Fighter 4. After I did that, I put all video games aside and I sat down to watch Friday the 13th Part 4. I sat down a couple of times to try and watch that movie, and things just kept coming up. Like, I got busy or something, so I gave that a shot, and I watched that all the way up until like the last 20 minutes. I still got 20 minutes left of that movie that hopefully I'll be able to finish tonight. So those were some good times, man. Oh, hang on a second. Man, it is dark out here. Let's get some brights on. Alright. So that was fun. I've got some other games coming in the mail. I'm looking at Tekken Tag Tournament, as well as Tekken, I believe it's Tekken 4 or Tekken 5? Tekken 4. It's got to be Tekken 4. One of the older Tekken games on the PS2, as well as Tekken Tag Tournament, are both coming my way. And I also put out an order last night for a new PlayStation 2 controller. I've got one working controller for the PS2, so I can play games alone, but you know, when my kids come around, that has to be set aside. And that happened this weekend. I was entertaining my kids on Sunday morning. Brought them upstairs, and they played Bomberman on the Genesis. Mega Bomberman, I think it's called. Yeah. It's just the Genesis Bomberman game. I don't know. I'm sorry. They played that, which is adorable because my daughter is too young to really play that kind of a video game. So she just kind of walks around a little bit. And then my son comes and blows her up. So that's fun. They had a good time. I would like to get there's a 4-player adapter for the Genesis. I don't have it, but I kind of want to get it just so I can become a part of the Bomberman reindeer games. I'm on the right, guy. It's my right away. That's right. I get a little beep beep for good measure. All right, where are we at here? So that was my weekend. You know, the whole thing comprised of maybe 2 hours of video games. You know what I didn't play? I didn't play Phantasy Star. I played the original Phantasy Star a little bit more last weekend. I'm trying to do like a little bit in the mornings every weekend, and that's how I plan to beat it. Because that's a good game, man. I'm digging it. But sometimes it's hard. It's hard to find, hard to set aside time to sit down and play it. I like it though. All right, what are we? 11 minutes in. Yeah, I guess we'll call that it. Considering that's all the video gaming I've done. I'm tired. I'm struggling to get out to work, but I feel good. I feel like the weekend was full. Sometimes the weekend comes and goes, and by the end of it, it's like I didn't do anything. The whole thing was a waste. But no, it was good. I took the kids out. We saw some Christmas lights. We had a good time. And I played some video games, but I didn't spend the entire weekend in front of the TV either. So that was good. You know, trying to strike that healthy balance. Hang on a second. Drive time real quick. There we go. Yes, we're living. We're not crashing the car. I think we're good. Oh, deer in the road. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and hang this up before I die. I'll see you guys back in the studio. So the GOG winter sales are on right now. Now, I like GOG, and I've got a nice GOG collection, but I tend to go thinner on the holiday sales over there, and I usually laser in on specific games that I'm really after. For example, GOG has games that you can't get them on Steam. Certain ones, most recently Epic Pinball, which I talked about last week. But I've had a hankering to play Daggerfall lately, and I went over to the Bethesda website, where they still have Daggerfall and Arena for free, and you can download them. But the thing is, I have no idea how to get those working. Those are DOS builds, and they require a CD to be in the drive, which means in order to play them, you've got to configure DOSBox so that one specific directory is the CD that's in the drive. I don't know how to do that. It comes with a PDF that tells you how to do it. I followed the instructions in the PDF. It still ain't working. So I don't know what I'm going to do. It's just not working. So there is another option. If you want to play Daggerfall and you can't manage to follow the instructions to play it for free, over on GOG.com, I have come to find out that they've released two of the spin-off games. This happened a couple years back. They released Battlespire, and I believe it's called Redguard. I'm looking it up right now. Actually, let's just do Elder Scrolls. That would be probably an easier way to find it. Come on now. Elder Scrolls. There we go. And if you get either one of those games, it comes with Daggerfall, a GOG supported and ported version of Daggerfall. Or I guess ported and supported would have a better ring to it. And I think that would be awesome. I'm looking right now to see. When you buy this game, Elder Scrolls Arena and the Elder Scrolls Chapter 2 Daggerfall will be added to your GOG.com account for free. Those are two games, at least Daggerfall. Daggerfall is a game that I've heard a lot of awesome praise about, but I never took the time to get into. Well, I'm kind of feeling like that time is coming. I don't know. I honestly couldn't tell you what's possessing me to get into Daggerfall, but I've thought about it more than once over the past week or so. Usually when I get a hankering to play like an oddly specific game, I have to really think about. I let it sit for just a minute and see if that hankering sticks around, and that's a way I can like vet out like bizarre one-off knee-jerk reactions that are going to cost me a lot of money. So this is passing that test. So I have to buy. I don't have to, but my plan is I'm gonna buy Battlespire or Redguard, and I don't know which one yet. Just so that I can play the copy of Daggerfall that comes along with it. Oh, excuse me. Those are what, $5.99 a piece? And wouldn't you know it, the winter sale on GOG.com is here, and neither one of those are discounted. Wouldn't you just know it? Still a good sale though. I got a free copy of something. I can't even remember what. One of those click here and we add it to your account kind of things. And there's a new GOG Connect. So if you got Steam games on this list, you hit the button, it dumps it into your GOG.com account. Among those games, and I'm not going to do the whole list, are the enhanced editions of Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, Outlast, which was recently given away for free on humblebundle.com, Sengoku, the grand strategy game set in feudal Japan. A lot of these other ones I don't recognize, but there's some games. Free games in your GOG.com account are always fun. You know, oh boy. All right, I don't want to say any more about that because I don't want to start talking about stuff I don't know about. Let's just say Daggerfall looks good, and I would like to play it with my computer, I guess. All right, back in the comfortable Panzer Studios. Just want to take a quick moment to recognize the patrons. This is a Patreon-sponsored show, and the people who have become contributors are keeping this coming back every single week. So big thanks to those guys. They are Hemrock, James, Sendu, Tecmo Balls, Darabka, Six Health the Fury, and the Cartridge Brothers. Thank you guys very much for sponsoring the show, and I hope you feel like you're getting your money's worth. Okay, not a lot of time, so let's keep moving things right along. I've got another hearty helping of Vancast pudding for you, so let's go back to the van. It is Friday morning, and it's cold. What's going on, everybody? It's the Vancast. This is part 2 this week. Feeling good, man. I had the best unboxing last night. I'm sure you guys have seen it on YouTube by now, but last night a long-awaited AliExpress package showed up in the mail, and I got to open it up and dig right in. In that package, it was Bubble Bobble Mega Drive. There was Ghouls and Ghosts for the Sega Genesis. There was Panorama Cotton for the Sega Genesis. And what was the last game? Ghouls and Ghosts, Panorama, Valis 3. That was the last game. Those 4, and then there was another package that came at the same time that had Lock and Chase for the Atari 2600. So all those games I got to open last night, which was just dope. It was awesome. I had a great night. I went through testing the games one by one, with the exception of Lock and Chase, because I don't have my Atari hooked up at this time. But man, whew, what a night for the Sega Genesis. It was a lot of fun. A few notes: Bubble Bobble Mega Drive. I don't know what that game is or where it came from. I was cruising around on AliExpress when I made that order, and I just saw there was a Bubble Bobble game for the Sega. I didn't know that, and I just ordered it. Well, now it's shown up, and I've played it a little bit. I've got to say, the NES version of Bubble Bobble is superior. However, I would say, to its credit, at least it's another game. The thing about Bubble Bobble is, for the most part, all versions of Bubble Bobble tend to be a port of the same game. Whereas this Bubble Bobble Mega Drive game, at least it's its own game. It's a new game. So there's that, but I like the oldie better. I got it on the WiiWare many years ago. I talk about this on the air all the time. That version I like better. However, it's cool. It's cool. It's an addition to my Sega collection. Toyed around with it a little bit and I had fun. I moved on to Ghouls and Ghosts, which, to be honest, I didn't stick with for very long. But that was kind of neat. Toyed with it a little bit. I watched Bithead 1000 play Ghouls and Ghosts recently, just combing through his backlog. Some video where he played it for a while. So I was like, oh, that's cool to go from there to here. I find that game, all those games, Ghouls, Ghosts, Goblins, everything in that series, I find those all to be very frustrating. It's usually a breath of fresh air when I play them for the first time in a long time, but I can't stick with them for very long. I don't have the patience to figure out the patterns. So, I think it's fitting that I played a reproduction price for it. It was like $3.80 or $4 or something. So that's another one I got. I moved on to, I tried Panorama Cotton, which is like a rail shooter. And for the Sega Genesis, an amazing game. Like, oh man. And it had everything I wanted from like an import, like Japanese shmup. Super colorful, super cheery, super, I guess, in the description, I see the word cute 'em up. I don't know if that's a thing people actually say, but not like any shmup I've ever seen on the Genesis. Pretty unique in that regard. Just the whole 3D kind of aspect to the game. It's not something I thought you could do on the Sega. It's the kind of thing you typically see on like the PS1. Games from that era where 3D really started to, come into fashion. But nonetheless, very cool. But the star of the show last night was Valis 3. Valis is a series I've known about for a very, very long time. When I was a kid, the first 16-bit, well, not just 16-bit, I think the first import game I ever saw in real life, and I've told this story on the air, so bear with me. A friend of mine got a copy of Valis for the Super Nintendo, one of the Super Nintendo Valis games for the Super Famicom. And in order to play it on his American Super Nintendo, he cracked open the cartridge, pulled out the circuit board, and inputted the bare circuit board into his system, and it worked. Now, these days, he's a bit more savvy. I mean, there's other ways to do it. But that was my first experience ever with a Super Nintendo game. An import game. In real life. Not a ROM, not anything that was downloaded. I don't know. To this day, I have no idea how he got his hands on it, because this was many, many years ago. This had to have been, at the latest, 2000. I want to say like 1999 or something like that. This is a long time ago. I don't know how you would have got your hands on an import game in the late 90s. because that was like impossible. But yeah, that was cool. So that was Valis. That was one of the Valis games. I can't remember which one, but it was on the Super Nintendo. So there you go. So this game, Valis 3, I would describe this as like Castlevania Bloodlines Waifu Edition, I guess is one way to describe it. It's a little bit, it's a lot of bit easier than Castlevania games. It's not very difficult at all. But the controls are a little bit clunky. Not too bad, but there was definitely a period where I had to get used to the controls, and I died a lot because of it. There's a mechanic where you can jump as normal in most platforming games, but you can also jump much higher by holding the up button, and I didn't know that the first 20 minutes of play. So what was happening was I beat like the first stage, but in the second stage towards the beginning, there's one like jump, like a pit, a death pit, and it's positioned so that you have to use that hold up and jump mechanic to get over it. And I didn't know that existed, so I was trying this thing for 20 minutes straight. I don't know how long it was. It was quite a while. Just falling in and just getting really upset until I finally figured that out. And I was like, oh, okay. So that's a problem. The mechanics are a little bit weird in that way. But it's extremely charming. It has a very 80s anime feel to it. When it comes to 80s anime, I'm really an outsider in terms of that sort of culture. I've never been the otaku type. But I've always enjoyed what I've seen. So that combined with fun side-scrolling. I mean, it's you're swinging that sword around, you're busting up monsters. It's a very well-done game graphically. And once you get the handle of the controls, I would say I'm painting a bad picture of Valis 3 in terms of gameplay. It's not bad, because the difficulty is managed very well. The monsters are defeatable. They come from all sides. You really got to be on it, but you can come out on top. And there's also a mechanic where you can switch characters between a few different characters, and they have different weapons and stuff. I don't know. It's a good game. It's a very good game. My only real solid issue with Valis 3 is that there's no continue feature at all. And by that I mean you have it seems like you have an infinite amount of continues, but there's no way to resume play from where you were. Like Castlevania games, they have a password system where you put symbols on a grid and you can go back to the level you were at. There's nothing like that in this game. So I played it for about an hour and I was like, this is awesome. But now I got to go to bed. I was like, oh yeah, that's kind of the way games used to be, wasn't it? So So I don't know. Maybe that's a case for emulation. And I know, listening to this story, Dumaze is somewhere laughing his ass off because he was telling me about how I should get the specific Mega Drive or the specific EverDrive with save states. Yeah, I know. I didn't get the thing with save states, Dumaze. So now I gotta try and one-shot this game if I want to beat it. Nevertheless, it was super fun. I had a great time. I turned on the blinking Christmas lights in my office. I sat down on the carpet, and I just spread my Genesis games all over the floor. And I was like just hot swapping real quick. Play this game, play that game. It's great. It's really great. Yeah, so I think multiplayer-wise, I'm glad I got the Bubble Bobble game because I'm always in need of more multiplayer games that I can play with my children. But Valis 3 was definitely the star of the show last night. Valis 3 is the most played. Panorama Cotton is the most jaw-dropping graphically. Seriously, if you never heard of that game, and I didn't hear of it until I was cruising around on AliExpress, check it out on the World of Long Plays. Just look it up on the YouTubers and take a look at the gameplay. For a Genesis game, it is truly jaw-dropping. That was my evening. Now, I woke up this morning, and I had maybe 45 minutes getting ready for work. And now the 45 minutes before work that I have, before I have to start like getting my suit on and stuff, I typically spend that looking at the YouTube channel, checking my email, drinking my coffee. I don't often play games during that time anymore. I used to. It used to be exclusively at game time. But the reality is I need that time to get my head together for work and really get my game face on. So I tend to take care of business. And this morning I was editing videos. I have a couple of quick unboxing videos I made. This is another one I'm sure you've seen by now because this will be posted by the end of the day. I opened Tekken Tag Tournament. I couldn't stop sneezing. It was terrible. I couldn't get all the sneezes out of the video. I sneezed like 20 times trying to make this video. I had like an allergic fit. But I did the best I could to salvage it, and that'll go up today. So, Tekken Tag Tournament, ahoy. I haven't even played it yet. I got it, I unboxed it before bed, and the very next day when I got home from work was the AliExpress package with Panorama Cotton in it and Valis 3. So, Tekken Tag Tournament is sitting unplayed on the shelf. Which is, it's not the worst. Not the worst offense in the world. But while I was taking care of business, I went over to GOG.com to take a look at the sales. Now, I mentioned this earlier in the podcast, and I went ahead and did it. I bought the Elder Scrolls Battlespire, which was kind of I don't know. I wouldn't say it was a dumb move because it's something I wanted and I bought it, and that's not very dumb, in my opinion. I bought it, and that added Elder Scrolls Arena and Elder Scrolls Daggerfall to my GOG collection. Now, I know those games are free, but right away I was glad to have like officially supported setups. It was I got to install Daggerfall right away, and in a minute or two I was in there tinkering around with it. When I'm in my office, like when I really have some serious game time, I'm not going to be playing any of those old Elder Scrolls games. However, because that's when I have full reign over my consoles and stuff. My Sega Genesis and whatnot. But I wanted to take Daggerfall and put it on my old laptop, my old crusty laptop from college. That thing doesn't have a lot of power. I was going to say it doesn't have a lot of power when it comes to gaming, but period, it doesn't have a lot of power. But this is Elder Scrolls 2 Daggerfall. This is 1997, 1996, whenever this game came out. It'll run Daggerfall just fine. There's a chance I could end up gaming harder on this crusty old laptop than I have gamed on anything in a while. So that was fun. A lot of fun was had in the last 24 hours. Apart from that, I've also been spending a lot of time with Friday the 13th. I'm still playing that game. I'm pushing 20 hours in it. I haven't quite hit 20, but I'm on my way. So $20 game, 20 hours. Although that number has gone up because I bought some of the DLC. I bought I bought the Spring Break 1984 or Summer 1984 or whatever it was package. And I bought the Halloween costume package, and I also bought the emotes. I think that's like $6 or $7 altogether. So we'll say I've hit the break-even point. I've hit the winner, winner chicken dinner fun time metric. I don't know what to call that system. I'll say I'll hit that at about 30 hours. If I'm still playing at 30 hours in, then I really came out on top. But I gotta say, I'm really enjoying it. It's a game that it's nice to experience a game that I was excited for a long time, got my hands on, and then did not regret. I really feel like I'm getting the fun out of it that I wanted to get. So that's awesome. It's a good game. I've enjoyed the repetitive action of hide and seek with friends online. I've enjoyed seeing the same death animations over and over again. Man, I played it a little bit before bed last night. I left my office, went down to our room, and I sat in front of the secondary computer that I built there. My wife was watching TV, and I was playing Friday the 13th with headphones on. And I had this moment where I was in a cabin, I was looking for items, and this was like early in the match. Usually when a match starts, you start within eye shot of some sort of building, and you can walk right into that building and start looting. That's typically the way it goes. Not every time, but a lot of times. And then never have I been attacked in the first building, unless it's like the major house. That wasn't the case here. I walked into the first building. It had 2 exits, right? I started looting, and when Jason is near you, there's an audio cue. You know, because the Jason music starts playing. So I was like, "Whoa, here comes Jason! Better block up the exit or whatever." So you hold down the E button, and then you drop like a storm bar in front of the door, so that Jason has to break through it. It slows him down a little bit. So I did that, and I started walking towards the back exit. Now I was thinking that Jason was on the other side, but the moment I hit the button to open that back exit door, there was Jason. And it was one of those moments where I didn't see it coming for whatever reason. My brain wasn't putting that, possible scenario together. So as soon as the door opened, I was like, ah! Really got my nerves. And my wife was in the room, and I had the earphones on, so that was a bit of a moment. So it's fun to play a game that can kind of catch me off guard in that way. That doesn't really happen with video games anymore. The only game ever that's been able to do that to me consistently, believe it or not, is Doom. If you play Doom on a hard skill level, and you play a map that's designed well enough, you'll be wounded walking through a corridor, hoping to find a health pack, and then the walls drop, and then suddenly out come the hordes, and then you're done. I don't think it'll do it to me anymore, but Doom gave me the most jump scares, the most pure jump scares, I would say, because they're emergent of the engine. Like, I'm not counting Five Nights at Freddy's. Those like manufactured jump scares. These were jump scares where that's just the way the game played out. It wasn't designed to necessarily do that. It's just I was looking one direction, the monsters came for another direction. I didn't see them coming. They caught me off guard. It's beautiful. It's a great experience. So that's video games. So where are we at right now? 18 minutes in. So right now I am on my way to work. It's 6:30 in the morning, getting ready to do my Friday, and then after work I'm going to be taking my wife and children over to my mother's house to see my mom. So I don't think I'm going to be able to get this week's TCR up for the patrons until probably Saturday night. But that's the Christmas season. Whenever the holidays are around, there's usually a push to get these types of things done. So, but there will be this is a real episode, not just like, okay, here's the Christmas special with the old time radio like I've done in some years past. So that's cool. My mom's house is always fun. My kids have a good time. We're gonna take her out to a tree lot and get her a Christmas tree, and we're gonna throw it on the roof of the car, drive it home, get it decorated just like it's 1991, just like we used to do back in the day. So that'll be a lot of fun. I don't think I'll be able to play video games again until probably tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning will be into the weekend. Then I'll be trying to worm my way back into the Wii so that I can play Phantasy Star. I gotta play Phantasy Star again, otherwise I'll lose my place. I forget what I'm doing. Speaking of losing my place, I played, not for very long, but I played Star Ocean finally. I put that in, made sure it worked. Fun, I just say fun, but because I didn't play it very much. I put 40 minutes into it. It's very well designed. I didn't have a ton of time, but I was like, I want to put this in and play it. I want to get a save file started. And then I hit that cliche of old RPGs where it's like, I need to put this down now and go take care of things, but I have not hit a save spot yet. And it's not something I've experienced in quite a while. So that was kind of frustrating. I basically just kind of nosed around and did some of the prologue type events just to kind of, not really to dig into the game, but just to give me a chance to fire it up, make sure the game booted, see what it looked like, see what it sounded like, get a spot on my memory card set aside for the game. And that's what I did. One thing I forgot about Star Ocean 2 is the way it uses sound effects in combat. It has this real, like live recorded sound effects were a new thing. They didn't really know how to handle it or integrate it very well. So you can hear these awkward, they feel awkward to me. I don't know how they feel to you guys, but in combat there'll be a soundbite, my strength! I'll play it over and over again. Here we go! And I remember in the menu, there's a way, all the sound bites you've heard, you can play back over and over again. And we would just abuse them. Go to the menu and just hit the buttons and play the sound effects over and over and over again because they were hilarious. My older brother and I did that. So, Star Ocean 2. Fun game. I believe, as is common with these types of games, they get good once you really get invested. So I'm reserving my overall opinion of it until I'm like several hours in. But I needed I wanted to have an RPG for the consoles that I was really digging into up in my office, because the console RPG that I've been digging, Phantasy Star, my access to that game is extremely limited, which is frustrating. I would have played it a lot more than I actually have if it wasn't like way out where the children were, where it would cause problems if I decided to start playing a game, But that's life. Feeling good this morning. Got some good rest. Got some good video games. Going out with my family tonight. Rare occasion where I'm driving into work and I'm feeling like I got it all together. So, all right, guys. I feel like that's 22 minutes and 43 seconds. I feel like this is a Hardy Van cast. But such is the case, I don't think I'm going to have a lot of time in the studio to put all this together. So, speaking of the studio, let's shoot it back to the ever so comfortable Panzer Studios. I'll see you there.
Are we back yet? Nope, stop talking. There we go. We are back in the comfortable Panzer Studios. I made that. I've been making videos on YouTube for the past 2 months. I returned and started doing these kind of unboxing deals, and they usually get 20 to 30. Sometimes a little less, sometimes a little more, but in that neighborhood, 20 to 30. Everybody wanted to watch me not be able to stop sneezing while opening Tekken Tag Tournament. Even though for old YouTube standards, still didn't do very well, but that was like 10 times as popular as any other video I've made in a long time. Everybody wanted me to just lose my just not be able to control my sneezes. So kudos to that. So let's do the fail bag. This is where we interact a little bit. Just get a little back and forth going. Take advantage of the fact that it's a small program. Anything you have that you've got to say, leave it on the YouTube comments, or you could head over to thenextround.net and leave it there. I try and accept them anywhere where the podcast is posted, like pretty much anywhere you can get to me. But those two are the guaranteed leave the comments, they'll get read. Apart from that, I'd love to hear what you have to say, but please be patient with me. So I believe I'm looking at the next round right now. I don't think I posted it last week. Last week I had a lot of issues posting. There hasn't really been time to do anything. So it didn't get posted on the next round, and I don't think it got posted on Podomatic either. But I do have some comments in YouTube, so let's head over and see what we got. Light Studios, good old Sendu from It's Tail Time. Right, so this is like the third time you've told that Anarchy Arcade story. Well, when I reopened it, they fixed a lot of the problems, Sendu. So it was different. I don't know. I know I'm the worst at that. I'll tell the same story over and over again. But I loved using Anarchy Arcade. Then they had an overhaul that broke everything. And then I went back much later to find that a lot of the things they broke had been fixed again. So, it was cool. I don't know. Yeah. That's all I got to say about that. He also writes, your copy of Windows is not legit. You can get rid of that problem on Windows 7 by removing some very specific updates. I will have to read about that a little bit because that initially out of the gate, that's what I heard. I got rid of one update trying to nuke it and didn't have any luck. Not saying that fix doesn't work. I'm just saying I haven't gone down that path yet. It'd be nice if I could, because I really don't want to. I really don't want to have to reformat everything again. But hey, yeah, thanks for the comment. That has infused me with enough. I don't know what the word is. It makes me want to try doing that one more time. So I'll give it a shot. All right, so we got some comments from Dumaze. Old Dumaze saves the day again. He writes, when I was a kid, my family had a Vader model 2600. Way better looking than the Woody, in my opinion. And for sure better than the Junior, which is right now. I have a Junior for Kaboom. I looked at the Vader. The Vader was one that for a while would show up in a lot of videos of people just getting their 2600s. And I know that the Woody models tend to be the desirable ones. I can't really say for sure what I prefer among all the different Atari 2600s. I like my Junior model just because it's what I've always had. My practical introduction to the Atari system was with the Atari Junior. I bought mine from a CD game exchange in maybe 2003. And I had never played an Atari 2600 before that. I played an Atari 800 computer at my friend's house as a kid, but that was only once or twice, and that was a very different experience. So I don't know. Yeah, that's cool, man. Dumaze also writes, was RCR at all a timed game? Metroid on NES was, and the timestamp always was the reason there were different passwords there. Dumaze, no, it was not. I know what you're saying. I know the point you're trying to make, but River City Ransom was absolutely not timed. So yeah. I think the reality was there were just certain it would come up with a password and it would run that password through some sort of a seeded algorithm that would generate something different. I don't know. I really don't know. He also writes, long password, do not delete data. I played the crap out of Metroid and suffered through that password. Z, sometimes I'd lose one because I could not read my own writing, so I'd lose a couple of hours. Yeah, man, that happened to me a lot. It happened to me a lot especially with River City Ransom when I was a kid. Another game I can remember that happening to me with was The Goonies 2. The Goonies 2 had a password system, and I think I brought that game up just the last time we sat down and was talking about games. I remember losing a couple of passwords to that, not being able to read my own handwriting. So that's the thing that happens when you're a kid. You know, what are you going to do? Mastering the House of the Dead Overkill. I have a fast, precise, spot-on aiming. Feels very good. Not very jittery after just a bit of practice. But it's a different game than the old light gun games. The Wii does not have your remote looking at the screen, just like moving a mouse pointer. It's weird and odd at first, but after just a bit of practice, you can rock on. Very cool. I would like to play some of the light gun games the Wii has to offer. You know, I think I even have one. I've got a game called The Umbrella Chronicles. Resident Evil The Umbrella Chronicles, which I believe is a light gun game. I think I tried it once when I first got it. It was given to me by a friend. And I didn't really dig into it too hard. I played it, a little, but that was really it. Let's see. He also writes, do you got a I think he's right. You have a TCR email address. Yeah, Dumaze, I do. It is tigerclawradio@yahoo.com. And let's see. Since you mentioned it, I'm looking at Thunderbird mail right now. I don't think. See. Yeah, I don't think I've got any new emails in here. So yeah, tigerclawradio@yahoo.com. I do have one. Fun fact: I watched each and every Friday Talking from start to finish for all of them. Really? So you were a Steve Benway fan yourself, huh? Steve Benway, his videos were, how do I put this? Benway was the staple of the community for me. He was a staple of the community, and he was a recognizable and respected talking head. I don't necessarily agree with everything that he said. He disliked some things that I liked, and vice versa. I think that's going to be the case with any two people on planet Earth. But I always liked watching his vids. So yeah, I know the Friday talkies got a little long in some cases, but yeah, they were good, man. I'm glad he's still around. And that is it. That's all I got. Dumaze and Light Studios said a couple things, and we're calling that it. And you know what? I'm exhausted. Christmas is coming. I got stuff to do. I hope you guys are having a great Christmas season. God bless. I'll see you next week.